Was Richard Allen a wolf in sheep's clothing, hiding in plain sight, or was he set up?
Did Ron Logan have anything to do with this crime, or is he being framed by another inmate?
This is Reporter Room with Jessica Della Davies.
Hello, Reporter Room investigators. My name is Jessica Della Davies. I'm an investigative journalist, and my job is to investigate crimes, crime scenes, and potential suspects and share with you how to do the same thing. If you haven't subscribed, please do. Like, share, leave a comment, and know that everything I'm sharing with you is my opinion. Today, we're going to be talking about the Richard Allen case and the Anthony Shots catfish account. For those of you that have been with Reporter Room for a long time, you know that I think that there was more than one person using the Anthony Shots catfish account. And I'm wondering if Ron Logan was using it in addition to Richard Allen and Keegan Kline. Now, Richard Allen has been sentenced to 130 years in prison for doing away with Abigail Williams and Liberty German. And Special Judge Frances Gull spoke directly to Richard Allen when she sentenced him to 130 years in prison. She said, quote, "You rank right up there as one of the most hideous cases I have ever presided over." Now, a jury convicted Richard Allen of 2 counts of felony M, I'm watching my words, committing or attempting to commit kidnapping and doing away with Abby and Libby. So he had also 2 counts of intentional M, and the jury found him guilty on November 11th of 2024. Now, Judge Gull's decision followed statements given by 1 witness and 6 relatives of Libby and Abby. Now, they were found, as you recall, back on February 14th, one day after they disappeared, and this was back in 2017 in a wooded area near the Monoon High Bridge, where they had been dropped off by family members for a hike the day before. Now, this is interesting because Richard Allen's family did not attend the hearing. And Lieutenant Jerry Holman, who's with the Indiana State Police, he's a lead investigator on the case. He told Judge Gull during testimony that he felt like Richard Allen was a, quote, danger to society because he's so manipulative and persuasive. He said, "I think he's a danger to society." And he also explained how Richard Allen, quote, had used religion to manipulate his wife and mother. He said, "I think it's a tactic to get what he wants. What do you guys think about this?" Now, Judge Gull did allow Richard Allen to speak following the victim impact statements, but he declined. So the 3 mitigating factors mentioned by Richard Allen's defense team said that their client should get less prison time because he had served in the National Guard. He didn't have a criminal history prior to this, and that financial hardship would be caused to his family due to his being imprisoned. And they also talked about his diagnosis of depression and anxiety. Now, Judge Gull validated Richard Allen's claim that his lack of criminal history qualifies as a mitigating circumstance. So she accepted that. However, she said, quote, "I don't weigh it heavily because the crime committed is, quote, the worst in the state." She also denied the defense's request that Richard Allen's National Guard, veteran service, and financial burden placed on his family due to his incarceration be considered in her sentencing. And then when she talked about Richard Allen's mental illness being a mitigating factor, she acknowledged that his diagnosed mental illness did qualify. However, she declined to consider this in her decision because of the aggravating factors involved in the crimes. What do you think? Judge Gull said she would let the record speak for itself. She said to Richard Allen before sentencing him, she said, "You sit here and you roll your eyes at me like you have repeatedly throughout this trial." So he is entitled to file an appeal, and his attorneys have already started working on his behalf. But meanwhile, we have Ron Logan is being brought back up as a person of interest, but someone who was never charged. Now, for those of you that have been on this case for a long time, you know Ron Logan passed away in 2022, but he owned the property where Libby and Abby were found. He was being considered as a person of interest at the beginning of the investigation, but Ron Logan was never charged. And get this, he reportedly confessed to another inmate after being caught violating his parole. Logan supposedly, I don't know if this inmate can be trusted or not, confessed to another inmate on May 15th of 2017. Now that inmate did report Ron Logan's confession to the FBI Public Access Line unit and reported him as being complicit in the Delphi case. He said, quote, Logan confessed step by step of, and I'm watching my words here, doing away with the two girls. The exhibit filed on Monday says Logan told the inmate how he burned his clothes in a fire pit, where it was located, that he used box cutters, and we know now from the trial that this was the weapon that was used, and that he struggled with one of the girls and thought that drops of blood from his nosebleed ended up on one of the girls' clothing. The inmate also had said that Logan had told him that he did away with the older girl first. Now, I'm not sure. Libby was the older of the two, but Abby was taller, so I'm not sure which one he perceived as being the older girl. Now, Indiana State Police First Sergeant Hansard interviewed this inmate, and so the exhibit filed in 2025 has Sergeant Hansard's handwritten notes and also has the defense's translation of some of the more difficult to read notes, because again, this was all done by hand. Now, Ron Logan reportedly walked with the girls and told them that he knew one of their dads. When one of the girls wanted to turn around, he reportedly grabbed her by the shoulder and told her it was okay. That's when the older, Libby was older, but this could also be Abby because she was taller, freaked out, and according to the notes from the prisoner's recollection of Ron Logan confessed, one of the girls apparently said something about calling the police. Then this is all, if you can believe this inmate. Now, Ron Logan was, quote, paranoid about probation, according to the exhibit with the filing. He felt as if he had crossed the line by grabbing, quote, the youngest one. And Logan told the inmate that he had told the girls he knew one of their mothers that worked at a bar. He told the girls he had horses and rabbits and offered to let them see them if they would go through the trail in the woods. And, quote, the oldest was paranoid and didn't want to go. This is according to notes written by this inmate, while the youngest wanted to see the horses. The notes indicate that the oldest turned to grab to help the younger one and started kicking. Logan told the inmate in his confession that he, quote, grabbed the oldest and got hit in the nose, and this is where he was worried he got blood on one of the girls. He took out a box cutter, hitting an artery, according to the filing, and the younger one was scared, and he took her with him for a while, according to the trooper's notes of the inmate's account of what Ron Logan allegedly confessed to him. Now, this could just be an inmate looking for attention, but it could also be that there is something to this and that Richard Allen did not act alone. The inmate told the police that Ron Logan left and came back in the evening after the searchers were looking for the girls. Now, we do know that Ron Logan also claimed that he waited until late in the night, moved the oldest girl to an area not likely to be found. He burned his clothes, his boots, his gloves, and a bag. This is according to the trooper's notes from the interview with this inmate. And so, Richard Allen's attorneys are making motions with this, and they said, quote, Ron Logan's confession exculpates Mr. Allen and should probably produce a different result at the retrial. Now, I'm not really a black or white thinker. I've always told you guys that I thought there was more than one person behind the Anthony Shots account. So I think it's possible that it could still have been Richard Allen on the bridge that lured the girls, and that Ron Logan could have also participated in this crime. Let me know what you think. I also, there was a lot of talk about how Richard Allen was treated and his 60 confessions. Now, usually when somebody makes a false confession, it's during an interrogation. In this case, the defense is claiming that it was because of the duress that Richard Allen was under. Now, this is what really bothers me about this case. I think Judge Frances Gull, at the very least, should be releasing transcripts of the trial. And she is not doing that, and she has said she's not going to do that right away. She could have had cameras in the courtroom. She disallowed that as well. So it's left some question marks in this case. This is not me in any way impugning the jury's findings. It could very well be that there was more than one person involved in this case. Remember, Richard Allen did place himself on that bridge. And if you think about the Monoon High Bridge, that is not a likely place where a person who wanted to commit a crime like this would just be lying in wait. It wasn't a very busy area. It didn't have a lot of people there. So this wouldn't have been somebody that was not familiar with the area. So I don't think this was done by a stranger who just wandered into Delphi and found the bridge and decided to hide out until two girls came along. I do think Libby and Abby were lured there from the Anthony Shots account. And I guess the question is, we don't know who lured them there. Richard Allen did put himself on the bridge that day. Some of the evidence I was sort of disappointed with. I was expecting, from what, we were being told, that bullet casing that matched his gun was, had been cycled through, but yet we found out that, that really couldn't have been replicated. And I think the lack of transparency has made people really question whether or not Richard Allen was of sound mind when he confessed. Now, it's also possible that both things could be true. It could be true that he was not all there and maybe would not have confessed 60 times, but he did so because he was under duress from his living conditions. I'm curious what you guys think, because now when I look at Bridge Guy, I do think it's Richard Allen. I think it is him. I think he placed himself on the bridge. So I'm curious what you guys think. Did the jury get it right? I feel like they did, because I do think Richard Allen's confessions 60 times can't be ignored. But I'm just wondering if he did act alone or if Ron Logan was also involved. So thank you so much for joining me today, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Please subscribe and hit the notification bell, because I can't get to 40,000 subscribers without your help.